Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin from MRU Studios. I know I've been away for a while. I've been doing some work outside of the stuff I've been doing. It was a contract work that I was doing, and since I've kind of completed that for now, and I have the ability to get back into creating tutorial videos and working on content for my channel, so I'm here today to discuss a feature of Auto-RigPro, specifically that's made for Blender. It's an add-on. It's a paid add-on. I think it's about $40 or $50. Depends on when you get it. Sometimes I think it's on sale, but it's from the Blender market. And someone got it for me as a gift. I've been learning it, and I've been able to fully rig characters that I have brought in from Daz Studio. I've exported from Daz Studio and imported into Blender using a free tool called... It's a script for Daz Studio and an add-on for Blender called Diffeomorphic. And I'm actually going to create a series of videos that are specifically on fully rigging a Daz Studio character you bring into Blender using Auto-RigPro. I really like this rig a lot. You can, of course, with Diffeomorphic apply the MHX rig and also apply a Rigify rig. But I have really learned and got into the details of how to set up and use an Auto-RigPro rig, and I really, really like the features. So today what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to properly use a control or apply a control, rig a control called RigFist. And it's a single control you add to each hand that allows you to fully manipulate the hands into either an open hand position into a closed hand position through one control. And there's some confusion about it. I was confused about it as well. The documentation doesn't go into detail about how to set it up. It kind of briefly discusses it. And I've seen some questions on forums and even on a video that was created by the Auto-RigPro developer that specifically asks, okay, how do you rig each hand separately? So there's a control for the left hand, a RigFist control for the left hand that controls the left hand, and a RigFist control for the right hand that controls only the right hand. So only the control you're manipulating controls the hand it's assigned to. And I was confused by that, so I'm going to go over how I do it, and hopefully this clears some things up and you find the video really useful. If you do, give the video a like and consider subscribing, because I'm going to release a full tutorial series on fully rigging a Daz Studio character using this Auto-RigPro that you see here. This is my full rigging. I don't have the RigFist controls on there yet, because I'm going to demonstrate how to do that here in this tutorial. So thank you so much, and let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Blender, and we have the lovely, amazing Captain Tanya Sadea, who you will see in episode 1 of the MRU Chronicles. It is a story about a mercenary squad that travels throughout time, space, and alternate dimensions to take on high-risk, high-paying mercenary contract operations. It's a fun story that I want to share with you. Hopefully you find it entertaining, and I'm going to be doing more of that. I'm also going to be working on a show that is based upon my experiences in the United States Navy. A fun, entertaining, hopefully like a visual novel show that I plan on doing. But here, what we're going to do is demonstrate RigFist, okay? And the first thing we want to do is I want to show you what it looks like or how you access it in the Auto-RigPro. Once you install Auto-RigPro, I'm not going to show that here. I will get into more details of that when I get into fully rigging the character. But I just want to show you how to rig up the fist properly. This video is really intended for someone who has maybe some base familiarity with Auto-RigPro. And it just has the issue of I'm not able to rig the fist separately using those controls. So if you come in here, I've got the screencast keys down here turned on. Finally, I did it. But I've got it down here, and you can see the key presses and mouse presses I'm I'm using while I am going through Blender here. But if you go over here, if this is not showing, you can basically click and bring up your navigation panel. Once Auto-RigPro is installed, you'll have an ARP, Auto-RigPro navigation panel over here. So you click on that, and we go over here to Auto-RigPro. Now, in the Rig tab, if you go down to this button right here, it says Add Hand Fist. Now, in order to add the hand fist, you have to have the controller selected that you want to assign or associate with the rig fist control. So let's zoom in here, and we'll start with the right hand. Okay, we've got all of the bones set up already in Auto-RigPro, and like I said, I will be showing you how to do all of this in a series of tutorial videos on fully rigging the character. And this won't just be for DAZ Studio either. It'll be for any character you want to bring into Blender. But specifically, I'm going to be doing it related to DAZ Studio characters. So if you click on the hand here, this is the hand control. Let's show you what it looks like if you don't. So if you just click, we don't have the hand controller selected. If we just click on Add Hand Fist, so we click that, it brings up an error, and it says the hand controller must be selected. So either we have to select the left or right hand controller to generate a rig fist controller. So if we zoom in here, we have the hand controller selected now, and we go to Add Hand Fist. If we click that, we still get an error. And this error says, Rig Fist was not found in action names. An action must be created with Rig Fist in the name, see documentation. Like I said, it briefly discusses in the documentation Rig Fist, but I don't think it goes really into enough detail. Some of the documentation is really good. In other areas, it's just a little thin on really explaining how this stuff is done. So what I want to do now is the first thing we have to do is what it says to do to correct this error, and that is to create a Rig Fist action. And how we do that is I'm going to bring this up over here, and we're going to raise up the pane down here that is basically our timeline. And let me get into a different position, a better position for you, so we can see this area a little bit better, because we're going to be working here for the time being. So you'll see over here, it indicates that this icon indicates we're in the timeline editor. And what we need to do is switch to the dope sheet editor. So if we click the icon over here that looks like a clock, move over, and under animation, we have some different views we can see. And the one at the top is dope sheet. We need to be in the dope sheet, so we're going to click that. And then over here, we've got features of the dope sheet, and the one we want to move into is action editor. So here we can create the action that Rig Fist is needing in order to apply the Rig Fist control. So we come over here and click new, and what that's going to do is create a new action. By default, the name is action. We're going to change that, and we have to make sure it has the same name that basically Auto-RigPro is telling us is required. If you come over here back over here, and we click this again on Add Hand Fist, we still haven't created the Rig Fist action yet, and it's going to say an action must be created with Rig Fist in the name. So somewhere in the name we have to have rig in lowercase _ fist in lowercase. I don't know if it matters where you put that in the name. I normally just create the name exactly the way it specifies in the error here. So what we're going to do is come over to the name of which is in this box here, click on that, and we're going to rename action, which is the name of the action, to Rig Fist, Rig _ Fist, okay? So you see it's Rig Fist there, and then press Enter. Now we've renamed the action to Rig Fist. We've got another action in there. Don't worry about that one. We're not going to be using that here. So now we have a Rig Fist action, okay? And if we move back over here, we can click on the hand now, the hand controller, the right hand controller, and then select or click Add Hand Fist. Now that will create the controller. And the way this controller works, according to the documentation, you click on the controller and press S for scale, and you scale it in and out. But you'll see it doesn't do anything. And the reason for that is we have to actually manually create the animation that's going to be assigned to that Rig Fist controller, specifically to the Rig Fist action that the Rig Fist controller uses. So how we do that is we're going to come down into the dope sheet that we brought up, and we're going to create an animation that is part of that Rig Fist action. So we'll come down here, and the first thing we do is make sure we're on frame 0. Now, according to the RigFist information in the documentation for Auto-RigPro, the animation is supposed to run from frame 0 to frame 10, and that's how I always set it up, and the RigFist controller works right. So let's do that. On frame 0, what I want to do is take, and we're going to box select. That's basically left mouse button click and hold and drag. Let's get up into the view here so you see what I'm showing you here. Okay, we're going to click, left click, and drag. All right, and we're going to select all of the controller bones from the hand. Now, we don't necessarily need the hand controller bone. It's mostly for the fingers, but I'm going to go ahead and set keyframes on that anyway. It's not going to hurt to do it. So let's go down, and now we have the mouse hovered over the viewport and just press I. And we're going to set keyframes for all of those controller bones we have selected. All right, so that's going to be the position of the hand where it is right now. And then we're going to move over to frame 10 here. All right, and when we move the playhead to frame 10. And let's go back into the main part of the window here. And what we have to do is we have to, at frame 10, get all the fingers into the final fist position. And that involves just manually manipulating the controller bones we have here to get the hand into that fist, which takes a little bit of time because we've got to get each of these controller bones moved. Now, before I do that, what I would like to show you, before we move the fingers manually into the fist position, if you're familiar with Auto-RigPro, you might think, okay, right now, we are in basically FK. So all of the fingers are forward kinematic. They've been set up with forward kinematics. And that's by default. I'll get into forward kinematics and inverse kinematics when I get into the actual Auto-RigPro, fully rigging the character. But if I select, because I am in forward kinematics right now, which like I said, that's default. If I click the base of any of these fingers, we're just going to select the index finger base, and I press S for scale, I can actually curl the finger up into where it would need to be for the fist position. And you might think, wow, okay, that's powerful. I won't have to do each of those bones separately, and I can get the fingers in the position they need to be. I can keyframe that, and then I can apply the RigFist controller, and everything will work fine. Here's the problem with that I've run into. And what you'll notice is if I do that again and I go back into the item pane or panel over here, navigation, you'll see it'll show the location, rotation, and scale of that bone right there. If I press S and scale, what it does is it changes, you'll see over here in the upper right, it changes the scale. Let me take a look, see if I can zoom in on that. You can see the scale numbers are changing, okay? But the location and rotation values don't change. The problem with that is that from what I have experienced, the RigFist controller bone operates on manipulating the bones based on their location and rotation. So if I use the scale to get those fingers in a position at frame 10 into a fist, and I apply the RigFist control, it doesn't work. It just doesn't move the fingers because the RigFist control doesn't work based on scale. It works based on the change of location and rotation. So if you try doing that and it doesn't work, now you know why. You can't. It'd be nice if you could use this feature to manipulate the fingers into the position you need for the RigFist control, but it just doesn't work. So unfortunately, you have to kind of manually move these fingers into the position. So what I'm going to do is basically manually do that. And you move each of these bones and just curl them into the fist position. Now, if you guys maybe are familiar with RigFist or familiar with Auto-RigPro, and you know a better way to do this, please let me know. This is the way I know how to do it. I am going to fast forward past the point into manipulating these fingers controls so we have the hand into a fist position. All right, so here we are. Basically got the hand into a fist position. Now, I've moved all the controller bones manually, and the hand's in a fist. We're at frame 10, so what we need to do is box select all of those controls, here. Okay, box select all those controls just like we did at frame 0 and press I to set keyframes there. Now we basically created an animation of the hand opening and closing. What I kind of notice sometimes, though, is that sometimes you get a problem with the thumb intersecting in the animation, and I don't notice that until after I get the hand into the initial and final position. But what I like to do is maybe at frame 5, kind of get the thumb into a position where it won't necessarily intersect during the animation. So let's move that out a little bit there, and we'll move that down and basically away so that when the thumb is moving, it's not going to intersect. So we move that right there, and I think we just moved this bone, controller bone. So I'll just set one for all of the controller bones here, just selecting the controller bone and pressing I. Now let's see what that looks like as the hand closes. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so the hand is closing. All right, now we've basically got the action set up with the animation that we want. So now we go back into the Auto-RigPro pane, and we select the hand controller, and we select Add Hand Fist. Okay, it adds the hand fist controller. Now what you'll see is now when we press the controller and scale it the way you need to for manipulating the hand, you'll see it works. It's great. The controller bone is moving the hand into a fist exactly the way it's supposed to. That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, and we need to get this animation over to the left hand. Now, the problem is if you just add the hand fist right now, you're not to the left hand. Here, we select the left hand controller bone, okay, and we select Add Hand Fist. It will add the hand fist controller. But what you'll see is when you manipulate the bone, we scale it, it's not going to actually scale the bone because we haven't added any animation using keyframes we set for any of the left-hand controller bones. So we have to, I'm going to remove the hand fist for right now. Okay, select the hand controller and clear the hand fist controller. Okay, I call it rig fist controller, hand fist controller. It's actually hand fist controller. So that's what I'm referring to if I've said rig fist controller. So, but we don't have to go through and manually manipulate all these bones in order to get the left hand into the position we need it to be in a fist. We can actually copy the animation from the left hand to the right hand. And how we're going to do that is we could have done it while we were positioning or moving the hand bones if we would have used this apply changes to matching bone on the opposite side of the x-axis. We've already done the manipulation of those bones. So how we can do it instead is select all of the right-hand controller bones, Control-C, then we select all of the left-hand controller bones and Control-Shift-V. And what that will do is it will paste the animation of those controller bones from the right side to the left side, okay? We didn't really need to do that for the default position because the hand was already in that initial position, but I just wanted to show you how that's done. And now that we still have all of the left-hand controller bones selected, so hovering over the viewport, we press I. And what that's going to do, in the dope sheet, it's going to set keyframes for all of those controller bones. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to set the controller bones at frame 10. So we select all the controller bones of the right hand, go to frame 10, okay, press Control-C, okay, and then we're going to go over to the right hand, select all the controller bones, and press Control-Shift-V. Now the hand is in the fist position. We're already at frame 10, as you can see here in our action editor, and we're going to select I to set keyframes for all those bones. All right, we did have an issue where the thumb was intersecting, so what we're going to do is go to frame 5, and I am going to select all those thumb bones that I manipulated into a different position so we wouldn't get an intersection of the thumb into the index finger. So we're going to go Control C, come over here to the left hand. We're going to select those same controller bones and press Control Shift V. Okay, and we're going to hit I. So we set a keyframe for all those controller bones that are selected. Now we have a fist animation for the left hand. And all we had to do was copy the animation from the right hand. Now we're going through the timeline, so you're going to see the animation for both hands. Okay. So now that we've got that set up, okay, we're going to move the playhead to frame 0. And we are going to come over to the left hand, select the left hand controller bone. All right. We come over to our tab, ARP, Auto-RigPro, and we select Add Hand Fist. Click that, and that's going to add a hand fist controller for the left hand. And what you'll notice now is when you select the left hand controller bone, all right, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I want to show you. If you look at the character here, we're going to manipulate the left hand fist controller bone, okay? Press S for scale, and we're moving the left hand controller bone. Only the left hand is moving from an open hand into a fist, okay? If we go over to the right hand controller bone, the fist controller bone, and we press S for scale, we're scaling and only the right hand moves. Now that's great. So we have the controller bone separate. This is exactly what we wanted to do. We had keyframes from the right and left hand in there, and it's behaving exactly the way we want it to behave. But we're not quite finished yet. And the reason is we've got everything rigged up, but we still have that animation sitting in the timeline. So if we add animation to the character and we play, the character's hands is going to go into a fist position, all right? And we don't want that to happen. We will only want animation that we're setting up for the character to work. We don't necessarily want the hands to automatically move into a fist position. So in order to fix that or correct that, what we need to do is we need to stash the action so we get it away from the dope sheet, the action editor, all right? And when we stash it, we're going to remove it from basically the animation timeline or the dope sheet here. So if you click stash, you have rig fist selected here. Zoom in on that. We have rig fist selected and we click stash. Now, rig fist is gone. It doesn't delete, that didn't delete the action that contained the animation for the hands. It just removed it from the timeline. Now you see there's no animation for the hand. From frame 0 to frame 10, it plays because what we did is we took the action out of the timeline so the animation isn't part of the timeline anymore, okay? We can see that action in the non-linear animator, and I'll show you over here. Normally, over here in this panel, you're going to be in a view layer. So you're basically going to see your outline of everything you have in your scene and all the meshes and everything, including the textures. You can access them from here, modifiers, and everything for this character. So if you switch from view layer to Blender file, this is everything that's in the Blender file. If we go to actions and we open that, you will see rig fist is still there. So it's still part of the file, which is great, okay? But we can't see it over here in the action editor. In order to see it, what we can do is come over here, the selection for the dope sheet, and go over to non-linear animation. So if we select that, what it did is it stashed it, and if we scroll down, here it is. It's in the non-linear animator. Now we can actually remove it from the non-linear animator. If you want to leave it in the non-linear animator, that's perfectly fine. It can stay there. It's actually doesn't have the check mark here, which indicates that this strip, this rig fist strip, doesn't contribute animation to the nonlinear animator. So it's not actually going to play anything. What I like to do is get it out of the nonlinear animator. I can always add it back in later. So what you can do is click on the nonlinear animator entry here and press X, and it will delete the strip. There's another action in there. We're not using that one. That's not related to the tutorial anyway, so I'm just going to delete that one as well. Now, we don't even have an entry for rig fist here in the nonlinear animator. I'm just showing this in case you want to remove it from the nonlinear animator. You don't have to do this, but you can. And you'll see that deleting the strip from the nonlinear animator does not remove it from the Blender file. So if you go under Actions, Rig Fist is still there. So we have the ability to reassign this to the nonlinear animator or include it in the timeline if we want to, but we really don't need to, because the only reason it exists is for the hand fist controls to be able to move the hands into a fist position. Now, if we come back out and we look over here, we select the hand fist control and come over here and we scale that, it still moves because the action is still there, and this hand fist works on the action, okay? And you'll notice when I manipulate that here, it doesn't manipulate the left hand, okay? If we move the left hand controller, scale that, it just moves the left hand, okay? And now if we go back to the beginning of the timeline, we could switch back. It's okay if we stay in nonlinear animator, but we're going to go back to the dope sheet over here. And we press space to play. You can see that the hands don't move. They only move when you move the hand control. So that's it right there. That's basically the tutorial. And everything's working right. It's manipulated right. Like I said, you still have the action over here. The action is still here. All right, the action is still here in the file, so you have access to that if you need to use it. You want to include it as a strip inside of the nonlinear animator. Really, that action is part of the file in order to be able to use the hand fist controls, and that's the only time you're really gonna use it, to allow the hand fist controls to do what they need and are supposed to do. So I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. I hope it answers some questions. Thank you so much for watching the show here. I appreciate it. We're going to keep working on some cool tutorials. Like I said, we're going to do a full Auto-RigPro series that's going to take basically a DAZ 3D character, export it from DAZ Studio, import the character into Blender, and then apply a full Auto-RigPro rig, as you see here. This is the full Auto-RigPro rig, and I will be going to each feature and exactly how to do this. Thank you so much for your time. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content. I'm going to be putting out more stuff to hopefully help you in your own 3D animation journey as I learn how to do things in my 3D animation and creation journey. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video, the next tutorial. Thank you so much. See you later.